Welcome to the St. Vrain Sports Report. Glad you could join us for another great show. I'm Blaine Robinson, filling in for Brian Howell. And on this week's show, we're going to take a look at the past week in football, preview two big football games coming up this week, take a look at what's going on in the other sports. But first, we're going to start with highlights, beginning with volleyball over at Frederick High School, hosting the rival Erie Tigers. Erie coming in at 7-3, looking to upset the league best 10-1 Warriors. Early on, Frederick serving, and Erie with the beautiful set for Kate Sebesta, who comes through with a big-time spike and gets her teammates fired up. Then Erie's Sydney Kreitz with a big hit, but it's blocked by Frederick's Josie Ravelli, and then tipped back over to her, who puts it down for a Warriors point. This time, another good set by the Tigers, but Kreitz mistimes her jump, and Frederick goes up 1-0. Second set now, the Warriors show off some more good defense as they block a spike attempt by Kreitz for another point there. And then on the attack, Warriors show off an excellent setup for Abby Awad, who puts it down, and the Warriors are cruising at home. Then it's Kinley Linhart, the freshman, with a powerful spike, and Frederick would go up 2-0 as Linhart powers it through right there. And then looking for the sweep in the third set, and Frederick would get it. A spike by Awad coming up, and Erie cannot handle it, moving the Warriors to 11-1 on the season as they try to prove they are for real as we head into the meat of the season and then head to the playoffs. Skyline Longmont football on Skyline's homecoming night, with the Falcons coming in 3-0 and number 4 in 4A. Early on, the Falcons go up 7-0 on a quick slant from Chase Silva to Kyle West. West would have a big night here in this game. Then the Trojans would answer on the ensuing possession with the toss sweep to Drake Engelking, who weaved through the Skyline defense from 18 yards out. He would add a 2-point conversion to put the Trojans up 8-7. Trojans driving again now, and Oakley Dinning hands off to the motion man Beck Feith, who powers his way into the end zone with help from his lineman. Longmont goes up 15-7. Chase Silva drops back to pass. He's pressured but can't escape the sack by Telvin Townsend, and Longmont was able to get a stop. And then back on offense, Oakley Dinning in the left corner of the end zone to Sage Yazzie. A great catch and great concentration to stay in bounds for Yazzie there. Falcons back on offense, looking to cut the deficit right before halftime. Silva over the middle to Kyle West for 36 yards down to the 15-yard line. And then they would indeed cut the deficit. Another strike from Silva to West, and West slips into the end zone, and it's 22-13. Trojans are up at the half. In the third quarter now, Kyle West on a jet sweep. He gets into the end zone for his third touchdown of the day. He had a big game as Jeremy Hollingsworth, Skyline's usual star, was a little quiet in this one. And West cuts the deficit to 22-20, but the Trojans would have an answer. Oakley Dinning on the quarterback keeper goes right up the middle. But however, the Trojans would miss the extra point, so it stays a one-possession game at 28-20. Skyline looking to strike back, and they have Jack Wathen wide open for a deep touchdown, but he drops it, and that sort of shifted the momentum because shortly after that, Chase Silva would scramble, he would fumble, the Trojans would recover, and that sort of was the turning point in this one as the Trojans were able to get the ball, and then shifting into the fourth quarter as we switch ends of the field, they would capitalize as Drake Engelking slithers into the end zone for another touchdown to put Longmont up 35-20 at that point. And then looking to send the Skyline fans home disappointed on homecoming, Dinning finds Yazzie again to put him up 42-20 late in the fourth. Skyline would tack on 2 more scores at the end of this one, but it just wasn't enough. Kyle West did have a huge day. He had 4 touchdowns. Hollingsworth was quiet until a late fourth quarter touchdown in that one. In the polls this week, Skyline dropped 2 spots to number 6, but they did stay ahead of Longmont, who jumped into the polls at number 8. In 3A, Erie remains at number 1. Meade received 11 votes in 3A, but remained just outside the top 10. We do want to mention one other school locally in football, and that's the Niwot Cougars. We previewed them as our game of the week 2 weeks ago, but unfortunately we had to cancel the show last week. So we do want to show you the thrilling finish they had against the Littleton Lions 2 weeks ago. So let's go to that. It's 10-10, 2 minutes left. Littleton has the ball, they're looking for something, but Niwot gets the sack there. It's Zach Koblenz and Lucas Steiner, and then with seconds remaining, Littleton wants to hand off, but Niwot blows that play up in the backfield. That's Eric Ruiz, the recoveries by Julian Molina, and Niwot wins 17-10 on a last-second sack. And that's just a great play. It's just a great lesson in, having a motor that's running all the time, 100% play till the very last whistle, because Littleton wanted to go to overtime. Niwot could have been complacent and settled for overtime, but instead, Ruiz just makes a great play. His motor was running, and that's just a phenomenal job for Niwot to get the win. They're sitting at 2-2 now after that game. They had a bye week this past week, so they're still at 2-2, and they're off to a great start as they try to keep rebuilding that program. Let's go now to the rest of the scores in 4A football to wrap up the last week. Longmont, as you saw, beat Skyline 42-34. Mountain View 14-10 over Silver Creek. Erie with a huge win, 55-7 over Canyon City. Frederick, after getting clocked by Erie the week before, comes back with a big win, 47-6 over Lincoln. Lions continues to struggle. They are still winless on the season. They went down to Yuma, 64-20, and as you saw, as I just said, Niwot was on a bye, and Meade was also on a bye. In other sports, let's get you up to date on how the local teams are doing, starting with softball. Erie is 12-5. They're 7-2 in Tri-Valley play, and they are number 3 in Class 4A. They're having another strong season under Harold Simmons, and we just expect them to be a contender every single year in softball. Frederick struggling a bit, 7-11, 3-6 in the Tri-Valley. Longmont having a good season, 14-4-1, 7-3 in the Northern, and a really good bounce-back year for them. Lions 5-12, just one win in conference play. That's the 3A District 3. Meade is 7-11, 3-6 in the Tri-Valley. Niwot's having a good season, 11-6. They're 500 in the Northern Conference. Silver Creek is the number 1 team in Class 4A. They're 17-2, 10-0 in the Northern Conference. They're just continuing to cruise right along, and it looks like we might, have a Erie Silver Creek showdown at some point in the state playoffs. And then Skyline, winless, 0-16-1, 0-9 in the Tri-Valley. Moving along, we're going to talk about volleyball. Erie is 7-4, 0-2 in the Tri-Valley. Frederick is 11-1, 2-0 in the Tri-Valley, so they're off to a good start. Longmont is 10-1 under Holly Stetson, 6-0 in the Northern Conference, number 5 in Class 4A, and they have a big one tonight. It's Tuesday as we're doing this show. They're going to face Niwot, who you can see a little bit further down, is 6-0 in conference, number 4 in Class 4A, so that's a battle between 4 and 5, and one of those teams will have a leg up in conference play after tonight. The other one will be looking to battle back and get back up to catch the other one. Lions 6-5. They're 3-1 in the 2A Mile High. Meade is 7-2, 1-1 in the Tri-Valley. They're number 8 in Class 4A, so we do have 3 of the top 10 teams in the Class 4A volleyball ranks. Silver Creek is 7-5. They're 5-2 in the Northern Conference, and Skyline is off to a good start as well at 6-2, 0-1 in the Tri-Valley. And on to boys soccer. No teams ranked in the CHSAA polls, but Niwot, you see there, is 5-3-1, and they are 1-0 in the Northern Conference, so they're looking the best right now. Skyline is 4-2. They haven't played a Tri-Valley game yet, but Tri-Valley League game yet, but they're looking to make a push. Erie is 2-5-2. They're 2-1 in the Tri-Valley, so off to a good start in conference play. Frederick sitting right there at 500 at 4-4-1, 1-1 in the Tri-Valley. Longmont struggling again, 1-7-1, 0-1 in the Northern Conference. Lions does not have a boys soccer team. Meade really struggling. Brian Howells mentioned that they have not won a game in over 3 years. They're 0-8 right now, 0-2 in the Patriot League. So, they're just going to keep battling, and we hope that they can get a win before the season is over. And Silver Creek, lastly, is 3-5, 1-0 in the Northern Conference. Well, that'll do it for the other sports, but we'll go back to football for a second. We have 2 big cross-district rivalry games this week, so we want to highlight 2 events of the week this week, starting with Silver Creek at Longmont in football. Longmont, as you saw, had a big win over Skyline to move to 3-1, and they're number 8 in the Class 4A poll, as I mentioned. Silver Creek comes in at 1-3. They're struggling a little bit on offense, only 12.3 points per game, but they're doing a lot better job on defense than Longmont is. They're only giving up 22 points per game. Longmont scores 36 a game, but they're giving up about 33, so their differential isn't very huge, even though they have a 3-1 record. Silver Creek's not getting a lot going on the offensive side of the ball. 226 yards of total offense so far in 4 games this year. Longmont doing a much better job at 330 yards in total offense per game. They have a really good balanced attack. Drake King on the ground, Oakley Denning and Jaden Elkins through the air. And then the turnover margin, Silver Creek is even in the turnover battle this year, and Longmont is +6. So I think we're going to have to give the edge all around here to the Longmont Trojans in this one. But that'll be a big game. Those rivalry games across town are always fun. We saw the atmosphere for Skyline and Longmont this past weekend. It should be another great atmosphere for Silver Creek and Longmont coming up on Friday night. And one other big rivalry game coming up on Friday night is Erie, #1 in 4A, heading over to play the Meade Mavericks in Meade. Erie comes in at 4-0. They're battering opponents. 36-11 is their scoring differential. They're scoring about 36 a game. They're giving up 11. Noah Roper is the end-all, be-all for that team in terms of rushing the ball. He's also making great plays on defense as a safety, sort of hybrid linebacker safety role. Meade comes in at 2-2. They're only averaging 24 points per game. But they're only giving up 16 points per game. They did give up 0 in their last game to Roosevelt, so maybe that defense is really coming along. Jason Klatt is notorious for running the ball. They're getting about 283 yards of total offense, which isn't far behind Erie's total offensive yardage of about 306. Both teams look good in the turnover margin. Erie at +6 and Meade at +7. So it might be a closer game than the records indicate, with Meade coming in at 2-2 and Erie coming in at 4-0. But that's a rivalry game. It should be a good game. It's over at Meade High School on Friday night. Noah Roper is going to, try to continue to be the leader for the Tigers attack and keep them moving right along at #1 in the state. And Meade would love to pull an upset, get a signature win, and head into the meat of the conference schedule with a leg up on Erie right now. So that'll do it for us this week. We want to thank Quinn McCain and Tim Ellis for getting our video this week. If you want to keep up to date with everything that's going on locally and in the state, you can go to chastanow.com and bocopreps.com. Keep up with us at Channel 8 at longmontchannel.com, or check us out on Facebook at the Longmont Channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week.